Hi, friends. I just wanted you to know that anytime you have a question that you'd like me to explore on the podcast, anything around nervous system healing, relationships, or generational patterns, you can now submit it anonymously through the link in the show notes. You don't have to share any personal information unless you choose to. There's also an option to consent to be featured in a future episode for a short audio coaching conversation. If you check that box, I or someone from my team will reach out to schedule a time that feels good for you. I'd love to hear what's on your heart. Welcome to the NeuroHeir Podcast, the show for cycle breakers, parents, young adults, and helping professionals ready to understand their nervous system through a generational lens, heal what isn't theirs to carry, and consciously choose what comes next. Hi, I'm your host, Leanna Hunt, an associate clinical mental health counselor and certified performance coach. Each week, you'll get stories, science, and somatic practices, plus my signature 4N framework: notice, name, nurture, and navigate, to help you honor resilience, break silence, and build deeper connection with yourself and those you love, all while shaping a legacy of safety, freedom, and possibility. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the NeuroHeir Podcast. I am so excited to be with you guys today. The last few weeks, we've had some really powerful interviews, just really taking a deeper dive into the nervous system and looking at the power of our breath. And today I have another interview for you, and it's actually been requested by several of you to have my husband David back on the show. So David, can you...
Such requests. That's so great. Hi, guys. Thanks for requesting me to come out of my cave. I appreciate that. It's so good. Love this.
I think our first interview was maybe episode 7. So if you guys haven't listened to that, we kind of talked a little bit about our journey together.
Lucky 7.
Yeah. And so today we're just going to take a little deeper dive into kind of looking at some of our patterns that we brought into our relationship together. This December of 2026 will be our 27th wedding anniversary. We got married as babies. So
yep. That was like, what, 10? You were like 8 or something, you know.
Basically.
You were so young.
Basically, babies.
You know, you were old. It was fine.
I was 20.
20. We were raised in the 80s. Things were different.
Children of the 80s. Okay. Anyway, so it's also interesting. We are recording this live from Oceanside, California, where we come every year for a family reunion type gathering.
Such a tradition, right?
Yeah. David is from Burbank, California, and I'm from Oceanside Vista area. And our families, actually, a lot of them have both ended up in this area. So we come back and bring our kids to the beach.
They get to see family all week. It's great.
And so we're getting ready to head home tomorrow. So it's also interesting that we're recording this and feeling connected and loving each other maybe more than the beginning of the week. And that used to probably not be the case at the end of vacation.
Really? Did this really work? Once again on live stream, you know, we get things written down. This is good for me. Okay.
Would you agree?
Yes, it's been a good week. We haven't had any big like blow-ups or fights, you know, in our patterns in our lives. Stress was always an issue. Stress brought out the best of our trauma, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, talk about that.
I don't know if that's it for you guys. Whenever you have stressful situations, it's like you just kind of revert back to what's easy, what's safe. I know I did that. That was always, you know, the way I dealt with things was I would get anxious, right? And being anxious would lead to having either control or frustration. And for someone like you in our patterns, like I didn't know that, you know, signing up to marry you, but when there's control and or frustration, you get tipped the other way. It's like a repellent. Instead of a good thing, it becomes a bad thing for you. And then this bad cycle would happen in our relationship. And then you'd pull away, withdraw. That would make me more anxious. Then I'd try to control. And it'd be frustrating that way. I mean, I grew up as the youngest child. It was a great life and great parents, and they did their best. And my families, you know, were close in lots of ways, but, you know, they're all grandparents now. And I'm working on that in 20 years or something like that. But being the youngest, so there were a lot of times I remember being alone. I remember being lonely, and I remember getting a bit anxious about it and or feeling a lot of the other emotions that big people have. older people, like, because I'm here, maybe imagine I'm 8, my siblings are 21, whatever, 13 years, 21, 25, 28 years old. They're married, they're doing their things, moving on. They're already out of the house. It was good, but then they'd come around and mother me, and love that. But that created some anxiousness. That created some, I couldn't, like, I guess in what you've taught me, like, there's safety things going on. I didn't always feel safe. And it's weird to say, because it was, my parents had, we had a good house. We had a good home, both of those. I liked my house. I liked my home where I grew up. It was awesome. Burbank was kind of idyllic in a lot of ways at that time in the 80s. It was kind of a cool place to live. But there was like times I just didn't understand. And maybe when we don't understand things, that then becomes a problem. It leaves gaps in our body and our emotions, and kind of subconscious fills in those gaps with different things. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride that even when we're stressed and frustrated now, you don't react the way you used to.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped us, especially kind of noticing that week. And or if you do get a little stressed, you come back quicker instead of staying so far away, going over and pulling away and then kind of either getting mad or punishing. Not that you would intentionally punish me, but it felt like that. Like pull away and say, oh man, you just really screwed up. Then I have to say I'm sorry for something that I felt bad about in the first place, and it was confusing to me. Like, we didn't have that this week. We had some good connections. We talked, we walked, we sat at the beach a whole lot, saw lots of family, connected with them, just kind of come back to maybe a little bit of our roots, which is fun.
It's fun. I think you said a couple things.
That. Yeah. What did I say?
A couple things I want to touch on.
No.
First, if you guys haven't, and because one of the questions I got asked about asking David was kind of like, how did he start to want to change his own patterns? Because we've talked about me wanting to, and I kind of said, hey, I'm going to.
Yeah. Why did you tell me about that without having me to have to listen to the podcast again? And for those maybe just listening the first time, because the star has come back and sometimes they missed episodes like, 5 and 6 of Star Wars, and they want to go back and without that. So why did you want to change? What was your deal?
I've said this several times, and I think I said that in the episode with you. I remember I was given like my first personal development book. I think it was back in.
Why'd they give that to you? Like, what was that about?
Because I was growing a business, a network marketing business. I was learning about health and wellness. I had found some things that really, really helped me. And my mentor, part of being an entrepreneur, she taught me was my own mindset. And I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't really realize I had a mindset that could change. So the top 2 books I was given were The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks and High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. And I think it was when I read High Performance Habits that I presented it to you. And I was kind of realizing I was so dumbfounded isn't the right word. I was so in awe when I started reading these words. It's like I could not consume enough when I realized, for the first time in my life, that the ways I thought about myself and my negative self-talk and
so you knew you had negative self-talk.
Totally. Yeah. I've had it from the time I was little. And we now know a lot of our negative self-talk is a form of protection. So if you guys have questions about that and maybe you don't understand that, we can talk about that, because that kind of ties into our attachment styles, which I'll get to in a minute. But I realized that I didn't have to stay stuck. And I felt stuck for so much of my life. And our marriage felt stuck for a really, really long time. So I remember presenting you with this book, High Performance Habits. And I'm like, this is mind blowing. And something at the end of Brendan's book goes along the lines of, the moment you think that you've learned it all is the moment that you failed. And I remember just thinking about that. And that was so learning is not something we just do once. Healing, changing our mindset, growth isn't just a one-time thing. It's so I decided at that moment, this is going to be a lifelong journey for me. And I really wanted you to come along, but I was scared.
Why were you scared? Say it. Let's put it out there. I don't know.
Things were really rough for us.
Especially when you tell me that I'm not good enough by saying I need to change, right? There's that, I can see that. If I came to you before that and was like, hey, here's a book about your bad attitude and your lack of discipline.
Right.
That sucks.
Totally. And that's
right?
also another
And that
shit. It's
was
like, how do you, for a guy, I have one listener that says,
right.
I'm doing the work. How do I like present that to my wife? So that's kind of a reverse scenario, right? And it's a very, very real thing. And I don't remember how I presented it, but it was enough for you to be like, you got your own copy. We ended up going to a Brendan Burchard, like
Well,
we've
yeah,
done
you teased
multiple
into it
events.
like you helped me travel, and I liked going
Oh.
places, and that was cool. Like an expense account, that was fun too. You know, we started doing a couple things, but I think it's like the law of attraction. So in answer to that question,
For like men specifically,
or any
like,
woman or anyone in a relationship, if you're going to change, yeah, I would say like this change should be and can be something that's attractive, something that hopefully brings you some joy. And I've always believed that being around like my friends are like good people. I like being around them. I don't hang around them because I got to fix them. I don't hang around them because they make me feel like crap. I'm around them because like I feel good when I'm around them. I feel good when I'm golfing or I'm playing ball or we're driving or doing something fun, traveling together. Like my friends are the ones who I feel good around. And I think like with you, it's like I felt good and you were changing and I could see you being a bit happier, you thriving. And I decided at that point in time, it was part anxiousness. Like I've said this to you before, like if you were going to change, at some point in time, the dynamic would shift where I wasn't either as attractive to you or you'd step to the left by changing. And if I were to stay in the same position, you'd leave. And so from, maybe in the very, very beginning, I'd say honestly, like it was a fear of losing you that took me like, okay, well, if you're going to go left, I'm going to go left too. And we're going to see what this looks like. And then as I got into it, it felt great. It was similar and lucky. The changes you made were at the root something similar to what I wanted to do. Our values were at least shared. And we learned later, like one of the best things you can do as couples is talking about and aligning your values and then working on, a whole lot of other things that are out there by smarter people than me.
Remind me that we'll teach you guys how to do that at the end. So.
But like, yeah, there's a lot of this belief system that when things are attractive to us, when we change and it looks good on us and it feels good to us, other people will seek that and join that. And if they're not, then it's like, you can't make people do it. And so I get it from that standpoint. It's really hard you can't be telling your spouse or your partner or the person in the journey with you, hey, you need to change because I'm looking good or I feel good. It's more of, hey, look at how much fun I'm having over here in the sand. You want to come build a sandbox with me? You want to make a castle or do something else. There's something there in our beach analogy that we're, sitting at Oceanside for. Yeah, it's like
I build a sandcastle with you.
Do you know? You don't like getting your hands dirty. I tried setting up a tent with you today, and I mean, you were like, I didn't like the sand in my nails. I was like, well, you go get your nails done next week.
Alrighty.
There's that. Yeah, it's like we want to make things beautiful. We want ourselves to be attractive, and it feels good when we are. I don't know if that's maybe one way of describing it, but it's like I saw you. I liked where you were headed. I didn't want to lose you, so I followed. And I found out that following you is good for me too. And that's been nice. And so hopefully then maybe you'll want to follow me sometime too. Also, there's the little anxious David talking every once in a while. It's like, maybe you want to come onto this side of things. And fortunately, you're well enough that you see that too. And we walk together. We are in stride, lockstep a little bit at times, maybe not all the time.
But more so than we ever have been.
Yeah. And that's, I think, because we're working on ourselves. We're talking more, we're communicating more, we're touching in more openly on our values, what's important. And that shifts like almost every year. We do another values assessment and that changes. And so, this year we're focused on family and experiences together. We got a bunch of kids leaving the house. We're going to almost be empty nesters.
With a 13-year-old at home.
75% of the kids are gone. Yeah, it's great. But that changes our financial situation and what we're doing right now. So like we're pouring a whole lot of time, energy, money, resources into creating experiences. And we've seen that, like being gone or doing things on the weekends or trying to create something bigger and better. Sitting here doing podcasts together,
Pretty amazing. Something you said. So if you guys don't know the language, I learned I was more the avoidant attachment style. And David, he already said it out loud, anxious attachment.
No.
Oh, an incredible book to read. And again, invite your partner.
What's the one that's healed? What's the one that's healed?
Secure.
Secure. Oh, I'm very secure now.
The hardest combo in a relationship to navigate is if someone's anxious and the other person is avoidant, just FYI. But the book Attached is amazing. We've read it. You can take the quizzes in it. The audiobook is fun to listen to. So that's the language we're kind of pulling off of. And I'm not going to really go into attachment styles in this episode. If it's something you want to know, we for sure can. But why, since David brought it up, I want us to kind of look at how can these attachment styles that show up in a relationship, right? They're usually not the same. Most of us don't actually start in a secure relationship as far as an attachment style goes, unfortunately. I want you to look at it though for a minute and maybe think about this, and you might have to process this question for a second, but think about how these attachment styles, because when we say avoidant and anxious, they're like, well, I don't want that. But for a minute, just trying to look at all these ways that we showed up as children were ultimately a form of protection.
So what's the question?
So how can you see that your anxious attachment style was actually your nervous system trying to help you? And then I'll say about avoidant.
It gave me a little bit of security and control. By being anxious, I was more vigilant. I can, kind of like you think of the Navy SEAL or the special ops guy who's looking around, walks into a room, the exits, the entrances. I walk into a relationship, I assess her mood in a sense, her body language,
in like a second, you do.
Oh, I already know. Before I walked into the room, you can hear it or feel it, the energy that's emitted. So that created, anxious is worrying about something that you can't really, that isn't currently present. It's more in the future, right? If we maybe define it that way. Therefore, my being anxious gave me a little bit of security and safety. It helped maybe make decisions. I'm constantly assessing and making decisions. Oh, is that going to work? Is that not going to work? Did I say it the wrong way? Do I have RBF today? Do I need to spice up my smile and pop a little bit better? Can I be numb and dumb? Those sorts of things. So I think, I guess I'd say in that sense, that's how it worked for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think the same with me and avoidance. If you feel like you're a more avoidant personality, it can be like, well, your partner's like, I want you to change these patterns. But if you take a minute and kind of reflect, how did it help serve you? So for me, it was a way to get out of tough conversations. It was a way to get out of tough situations. It was a way to have to avoid facing reality sometimes. And the unfortunate part is that showed up later as me doing the same patterns in relationship. And again, anxious and avoidant. Anxious needs a little bit of what from avoidant?
Presence.
Leaning in.
Yeah.
Needs a little bit of I can stay for a minute.
Helping me feel trust, that I can trust that you're not going to run out on me, because that's unpredictable. And I guess from that book, or from our understanding in the last couple of years of each other, you hate it, but it exposes the weakness. And there are times in our relationship when I'm talking to you and I'm not too upset, but all of a sudden I can see you spiraling down, flooding, whatever you want to call it, and running away from the conversation. And it's it becomes a light bulb for me to be like, oh, hey, why are you leaving this conversation? Where are you going? And I've even said that to you. You hate it at that time. You've kind of now come to accept it. And I think it's the same thing with me. If you're like, why are you so anxious about getting to the beach on time? What's going on with that? What are you thinking? And I think those kind of conversations, once we understand each other's style, helps us then to navigate with a little bit more honesty and maybe softness, or most importantly to me, maybe more integrity with who we are. Do you realize that you run away from our discussions and that prolongs our arguments, which then makes me anxious because it's been happening for so long and we need to circle back?
So that's what's fascinating, is that the avoidant and anxious together actually make things more intense, and less repair is possible, because The anxious just needs a little bit of reassurance and needs the avoidant to stay, and needs the avoidant to offer some reassurance compassionately and lovingly. And what does the avoidant need that you learned?
I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure you out.
Oh my God. A little space, a little permission.
That's probably why I haven't remembered that. That's like,
The
those are
avoidant needs a
dirty
little
words,
permission to be able to process.
but what could be easy if we all just did it a little more anxiously?
Oh, gosh.
Anxiously engaged is, I've heard that phrase before. You could be that way. And then like, let's just move on. I'm ready to move on. You don't want, I need more time. I don't want to move on.
But he knows that helps.
She is so regretting bringing me on
avoidance.
this conversation right now.
Okay, does that make
Okay.
sense? But interestingly enough, is that both, as we're describing attachment styles, which is interesting that that's kind of where we went today, both live in nervous system dysregulation. Again, if we kind of look at the nervous system and the autonomic nervous system specifically, when our body doesn't feel safe, okay, this again, when we talk about safety, it doesn't mean that you feel like there's a physical threat for your life, that you're going to lose your life, that someone's going to physically harm you. It's a felt sense of, does my body feel safe in this moment? And a lot of that, especially as children, it was connected to, was there some unconditional love in the moment? Was there someone to advocate for me? Was safety possible, or could it have been possible? And was there another option that could have been possible? So we are constantly looking at those things, whether you know it or not, like 24 hours a day. And so both my attachment style and David's live out of our window of tolerance, live out of a point of connection, of thriving, of fulfillment, of logically being able to solve problems, because the anxious mind is saying, I'm not safe here. Like you use the word hypervigilance. I have to be so hyper-focused on how to get connection, on how to feel safe. And the avoidant is like, I have to remove myself so far from this because safety I cannot find here in this moment. I need to go feel safe alone. Like none of this is safe. And so it's interesting, as I've said this several times, I'll ask David what he thinks about this. When the autonomic nervous system is engaged, again, we are out of our window of tolerance. The body is preparing to do several things. It's preparing to either fight, it's preparing to fly away, and sometimes that's the checkout. Sometimes that's overproductivity. It's preparing to freeze and shut down altogether and be numb and play dead, maybe, to bypass having to face whatever. And now we see that appeasement or that people pleasing, right? Of like, let me give you everything that you need and let me bypass my feelings. So as the body's preparing to do that, we can see heart rate increases. We can see that sometimes we might hold our breath, or we might be breathing more rapidly up here in our chest, which is where a lot of times you'll describe it to me when you're have had a panic attack or you're feeling anxious, is we're not actually sending the breath where it needs to go, deep in our belly. We might start sweating. Some people's faces get hot. We clench our jaws, we clench our hands. And one of the most fascinating things we see is that we have tunnel vision. Because as David said, again, we are becoming so hypervigilant because we don't feel safe in the body. And when we are in tunnel vision, we don't see other options. We don't smell the flowers. We don't look at our partner with compassion and think about all the good things. We don't think about repair. We don't think about wanting to like kiss and make up. We are literally thinking about, how do I fight this? How do I run away from this? How do I shut down? But what's so powerful too is that on the flip side of that, in the autonomic nervous system, when the body feels safe, when we come back into our window of tolerance, we not only slow our breath and our heart rate and our body temperature regulates, we expand our peripheral vision, which means we can see more. Mm-hmm. What have you learned about that with us as far as possibilities? Like when I say see more, how have you actually seen that with us or even yourself?
Well, I see it from like, I feel myself getting anxious, getting sympathetically activated. I feel in our discussions, it's more and more like I've described it to you as like, I just get frustrated. You're not hearing me. Mm-hmm. So what do? I over-explain it. I explain it 5 or 6 times, which then leads you to get more frustrated in tunnel vision. And then you either will tell me, you're yelling or you're speaking too loud. Like you'll clue me in the sad part is when I get so activated and upset, I don't always hear that or stop myself because I'm hurt, I'm frustrated, I'm scared, I'm looking for safety, and that safety comes in being understood and heard. But since you don't do that and can't do that and you're running away, it doesn't happen. And it's only until sometimes like I will literally have to like take a big breath in, stop, I'll turn around, or I'll even wring my hands, or go for a drive or be frustrated and just kind of take a break and come back to it, that then I can bring myself back to the point of like, okay, hey, look, I do love you. We do want to talk a little bit better. You've got some things going on. It'd be great if you said sorry, but I'm also sorry for my part and what happened in this conversation. And I want to move forward. You've taught us and taught our kids, and I love it where you've just said, can we try again? And that's a powerful break for us. And like, especially when you say it and you mean it, instead of saying like, I'm sorry that you got upset at me. The sorries that aren't sorries often are infuriating more than they're helpful.
And say sorry when you actually are at a point
say
where you
sorry
really,
when you can say it.
Really mean it.
Yeah. And let that, I don't know, settle in and say, really, can we try again? Let's try that conversation a different way or different. I don't like if you're anxious and you feel that way, like you telling me, let's try it at a different time. No, because one, situations change. Two, you don't try it again the second time. It just doesn't work out that way. I would rather deal with it at the moment if I'm speaking on podcast for the record, but it also is a way to kind of slow us down and let's see if we can try it again. And you've actually been really good about that, where you're like, okay, yeah, I'll try it again. You say you need time, but we usually are moving, especially as we practice this more, faster and faster.
But for couples starting out, that might not be possible.
Right.
And it's something I work a lot with in my couples clients, that sometimes you guys might need to go for a walk and breathe together. And maybe you can walk.
Do you go separately or do you go together?
It depends on what works for you guys. If you're not really feeling safe in that moment, like David's said, go for a drive. If you can do that safely, maybe you guys walk. Sometimes I have clients walk together but not talk, and then they come back and try again. Sometimes clients will each go for a walk.
We've done that before.
Because we see that too in the body, when there's a buildup of energy, sitting still is not the way to release a buildup of emotion. And at that point, we usually will say something we regret, or we'll hold so much in that then we'll shut down completely and repair will not be possible either. So movement is really powerful, especially healthy movement, because sometimes when we have a buildup of energy, that's when we get the inkling to want to punch something like a wall, or throw something, or say something that you really are going to regret saying. Because again, think about it as energy. It's building, it's building, it's building. So as we walk, as we move, sometimes I have clients, they'll even go jump on a trampoline, do 100 push-ups until you're just exhausted, jumping jacks, turn on some music. So many options that even if you want to still be together and take a few minutes, you've got to release some of that energy out of the body before you can get access to that logical part of the brain again, before the body can start to feel safe. And then hopefully over time, like us and what we've learned, that you can come back quicker to repair. Anything about that?
No. What's a good recap? So how do people help understand that change is possible with them and with their partners?
So the biggest thing I want to kind of end on, and then we'll just touch on how to do your values, is self-compassion. Can I just talk about what we did this last week? Just briefly, I won't go into details.
What are you going to say?
About working with your younger self.
Working with my little David?
Yeah.
All right.
So much of how we show up now with our partner has to do with our version of us at some point that didn't get that repair that we needed, that didn't get to have an explanation, that didn't feel that unconditional love. Not because I truly believe that most of us have parents that really did the best they could with what they had and the tools they had, but we also have parents that had their own struggles, their own generational impacts, their own fears, their own worries and finances, and they had jobs. They couldn't be there for us as children 24 hours a day, right? And so much of our current reactions are based on a younger part of us that didn't get those needs met. So maybe just from that point, can you just say what you learned as we just did a little bit of that work? Maybe how that
Well,
shifted in you.
I think looking back, so the nuts and bolts of it were to look back and get an assessment, get an idea of some of the feelings, maybe put yourself into a specific situation that was troubling, hard, frustrating in your youth, especially young youth, like kind of in your earliest memories. And upon doing that, then speaking some sort of understanding, comfort, and I guess help, oftentimes in a role-playing situation, like either my older self talking to my younger self or someone else talking to my younger self. And in doing that, you can release and or give some support to that younger self, which then helps unravel a lot of the reactions and the searching and the trying to find safety in the future and the current situations that you find yourself in. So, yeah.
How was that for you, just overall? How's that felt?
It's been interesting. It's been a little hard, a little good, TBD, I guess I'd say.
TBD.
Yeah.
So when we think about that, like coming back to us as couples too, and you guys listening and your partner and spouse and wherever they are in their journey, like starting with you and offering yourself when you start to feel frustrated, when you start to not feel heard, when you start to feel like you're doing it all and you're alone, that nobody has your back, or maybe in the moment doesn't feel like anyone has your back, or your partner or spouse doesn't care, to start to offer yourself compassion first.
Yeah, I think that's the point and where it is.
Kind of a good place.
How do you want like you're doing some work for yourself. Just keep doing the work for yourself. Keep working on all the little hard points and things that take you out of your window of tolerance. You work on that. And I'd say like good things follow, making yourself a bit more, circling back to the beginning, like a more attractive in the sense of the law of attraction, like magnetic pulls things to it.
Totally.
So if you can, the better you are and happier you are, or just more healed, you don't have to be happy in that sense, but usually you will be, you'll be more magnetic and pull and attract the good in the world to you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And a lot of that starts with our self-compassion. So what do I mean by that? Here's a few statements to practice with yourself, especially in the moment when you're feeling like you want to blame that on your partner, is noticing, and sometimes I even like to put a hand on my heart or wherever your body is starting to feel tense, because your body is going to let you know where it doesn't feel safe, okay? That might sound weird. It's going to let you know in the body. So if you can connect, for me, it's often hands under my collarbones on those EFT tapping points. And it is some self-compassion statements such as, I love myself. And sometimes I just even say it like, I love you. Like I'm talking to my younger self. It's going to be okay. I'm listening. I hear you. Let's slow down and breathe for a few minutes. And ask myself, what else do I need to feel safe in my body right now so that I can attempt repair with my partner? Sometimes that's putting your feet and feeling your feet like on the carpet. Sometimes it's touching your chair. Sometimes it's looking out the window. Sometimes it's stepping outside and breathing outside there. Sometimes we need a really cold drink of water. Sometimes we need to move around the house, or we talked about go for a walk, go for a drive. If you're not too activated, jump on the trampoline, hug a dog, hug your kids. I don't know what other animals you have. So those are all self-compassionate ways to check in with ourselves first. So then we're not looking to our partner to be like, here's what I'm feeling, fix it all for me. We have to be able to start with ourselves. What do you think about that?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Good summary.
Good summary. Well, in closing, maybe we'll talk about values another time, but quickly, like I just wanted to make sure, because some people ask me all the time, what do you mean by values? Like it comes up in therapy or in coaching. So let's ask you this.
I guess a lot of things out. Sorry to interrupt that, but I mean, there are a lot of resources out there about setting your values, setting intentions and things like that.
But the biggest, I'll ask you, if you want to sit down, get a blank piece of paper and say, in the context of your relationship, what is important to you? It's the same in the context of your health, in the context of your financial life, in the context of your job. What is important to you? And do a free write and just start writing for several minutes and keep looking at the question. And maybe it's honesty, maybe it's
until
fun.
You have no more answers.
Maybe it's integrity, maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's physical touch, things like that. And you just keep writing. That's the first step. Next is then very quickly, because we want to engage that deeper part of our consciousness, not just our cognitive part, number them from the ones that feel like number one's the most important all the way to the end, right? So we number those really quickly. So maybe for me, let's say honesty ends up being my first one. I'm going to take 1 through 5 at the very end and put those in a list. And I'm going to sit and just really ponder on those and ask myself, does this feel like this is in accordance with what's important to me? And then my partner will do that. We're not talking at this point. Then we share each other's values. And maybe just start with the top 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3, I guess, if you're just getting started. And you guys start having conversations about how does my honesty line up with whatever your partner's number 1 is? And how is that working? And how can you guys each support each other in that value, right? Did I miss anything?
No.
And just really set goals, little goals. How do we meet this? How specifically can David help me with honesty? And if his is, let's say his is fun, then how can I make sure that that is being met too? Like, what's my effort to put? So as far as values, that's where we'll leave it. Anything you want to add about values?
Yeah, no, I would do a search. There's a lot of resources out there. So find what works
Or
for
Google
you.
how to align your values.
Aligning values in a
relationship.
relationship. Just that key practice has been very helpful and kind of changed even like some of the feedback and or advice I've given my kids as they've gotten older in their relationships. Making sure they know and can work with their values, because then everything becomes meaningful to you. We work together because I know what your values are, you know what mine are, and we have even our relationship values that we both agreed on. It kind of points us in the right direction.
It's been powerful. So then when we're working through our own inner wounds, right, that show up in our own nervous system dysregulation, we always still remember what is important to both of us. And our values will change. So that's why David said to do it once a year. So maybe at the end of the year, we'll do another.
It's more than that if things are really changing and
you have a lot of
moving
change
for you.
Yeah. So thanks you guys for being here. Thanks for requesting David back on
thanks.
the show.
Love it. So great.
Any questions, you guys can send me a message on Instagram at Aligning with Leanna. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Talk soon.
Bye, guys.
See you at a beach.
What did you just say?
See you at a beach.
See you at a beach. Make it a great rest of your week.
The rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on the NeuroHeir Podcast. This work is about honoring resilience in yourself and also those who came before you, all while finding freedom from what was never yours to carry. With the help of stories, science, somatic tools, and the 4 Ns, notice, name, nurture, and navigate, you have a path toward deeper connection with yourself, your loved ones, and the legacy you want to pass on. If today's episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's ready to step into this work too. And follow the show so you never miss an episode. Remember, you may not have chosen what you inherited, but you can choose what comes next.